In today's Leeds news, Poveda sentenced for driving offence. Georginio Rutter could break championship record. And this week's full long watch. Hiya folks, Jay here on Tuesday the 10th of October with your Leeds United news. Just a reminder for anyone who hasn't seen it, we did a live stream last night with Lockie from Lockie Leeds and Kev from the Leeds House podcast as well. Looking back at the game against Bristol City the weekend and a couple of chats about a couple of players as well. So that is available for everyone to catch it out. The podcast from last week is available as well on the channel under the podcast tab, so you can find that if you want to check that out for more content on what will be a very quiet 2 weeks for Leeds and could be a very tricky week for me. It's very thin on the ground, but we've got a couple of bits to get through. We'll talk about Ian Poveda's sentencing. We'll also talk about Georginio Rutter, as well as go through the full loan watch as well. And we'll start off with the Poveda story. And earlier this month we shared that Ian Poveda would be back in court to face sentencing for a driving offence that happened last year. Poveda is 23 years of age, appeared at the Manchester City Magistrates Courts to face sentencing for a driving offence related to driving while disqualifying, driving without a licence and driving without insurance. Not a great look for the kid, but it is April 14th last year, so it's a while ago. This happened during Ian Poveda's time at Blackburn and when he was out with a knee ligament problem at that time. Poveda has since been at Blackpool on loan for a season and has returned to Leeds this season. So it is a while ago. Daniel Farke did comment on this at the time and said that what's going on with Poveda right now isn't impacting Leeds in any way, that this stuff is not happening during Leeds time, it's happening outside of Leeds time and it's in his own personal time. Players have their own personal lives and that's their problem. He wants players to act professionally, but again, this is going back a while ago. And Poveda has now been charged with the offences that he committed. He has been charged with, as I said, driving while disqualifying, driving without a licence and driving without insurance. Poveda had pleaded guilty to the offences. It's pretty cut and dry from that perspective. His sentencing now has come in the form of a community order, and that basically breaks down to 140 hours of community service, or what they label as unpaid work. He's also been handed an additional 6-month driving ban, as well as being asked to pay a victim surcharge and all court costs related to this as well. It does state that he has avoided a fine, which I think is probably the least of his worries considering everything else he'll have to pay for here as well. And hopefully just a bit of a wake-up call to a young player who wasn't going through a very good period at that time. And it's got to be said, in terms of being out injured, you know, his big opportunity to get some real game time under his belt fell away after a positive start at Blackburn as well, and under Tony Mowbray, who really liked the player at the time as well. So hopefully it's behind us. The community service, other stuff won't again impact Leeds. It will be done outside of Leeds time. So Farke has been very clear on that as well. So hopefully this is something that Poveda and everyone can move on from pretty quickly. Moving on to other young players at Leeds who are starting to set the ground on fire, and Georginio Rutter. This is a story that comes from the Yorkshire Evening Post. If you want the full detail, you can check it out there as well. But the shortened version of it is this. Georginio Rutter has started this season fantastically, as we've all seen, on the back of what should be described as a very disappointing season last year. Rutter was struggling with the £35 million price tag on his head, and then Sam Alders commented on it. We've heard it on the Phil Hay show this week as well, that his confidence level was really low last year, to a point where Allardyce just didn't feel he could use him at all. This season we have seen an explosion of talent from a player that has surprised a lot of people, but is now putting a lot of smiles on people's faces. Rutter has currently got 2 goals in 3 games, and he is showing to probably be one of the most creative players in the division so far. 2 goals, 3 assists, but they're not the stats that we should be looking at. It's the other stat that we should be keeping an eye on, and that's that Rutter has, in his 10 league games to date, created 10 big chances. Now, what is a big chance? Well, according to Opta, they say that it's any chance bearing an XG of 0.3 or above. If you go to SofaScore, they label it as a situation where a player is expected to score from. Now, the issue for Leeds has been turning those big chances into big goals, and that hasn't happened just yet, not in total, but it's a positive thing. To put this in context with other Leeds players, Chris Somerville and Dan James are second to Rutter currently, with 5 big chances created each this season. I think the top outside of Rutter in the Championship is 7 from one of the players at Ipswich. If you look at all the leagues all up together, Mo Salah is second to Rutter in all the divisions with 9 created. what the record is and how it bears at the record. Ryan Giles spent last season on loan at Middlesbrough and he created 23 big chances, which was the most of any player in the Championship over the last 7 seasons. And his current rate with 35 games left, with 10 already in the bank, Rutter is on course to break that record. And the big question for Leeds will be, can they turn those big chances that he's creating into big goals for Leeds? He's been brilliant. Regardless of the 9 or 10 argument, he's been brilliant. He's been really good and a joy to watch, and it is definitely putting smiles back on Leeds fans' faces, and long may that continue. He's got a good 2 weeks to work with Daniel Farke now as well, and before we kick back in against Norwich. So more to come from him, and I do see a point, and we keep saying it, Leeds are going to smash somebody at some point, and I do see it coming. If you see the amount of big chance that he is creating, someone's going to get on the end of them at some point and start putting them away. It's all about timing and just the increased fluidity of that Leeds team at the moment, to get more used to each other, more used to Daniel Farke's style. So it's positive, it's going the right way, and it's great to see that. And we're going to finish off today's news with the loan watch, so we'll get into that now. Jack Harrison scored and got an assist in Everton's 3-0 win at the weekend over Bournemouth. In the same game, Luis Sinisterra came off as a second half sub for Bournemouth. Iraola stating after the game that Sinisterra is not fit enough yet to start games for Bournemouth. Cody Drama had an assist for Birmingham in their 3-1 win over West Brom at the weekend. Another weekend to forget for Sonny Perkins, left out of the Oxford squad for the 3rd straight game. Max Forward played 90 minutes in Gladbach's 2-2 draw with Mainz and has been called out for praise this season, getting better and better as the season comes on. The terms of warrior and leader being thrown at the player again that we saw last season at Leeds. Brendan Aronson was a second half substitute for Union Berlin but couldn't impact the game in a 4-2 defeat to Dortmund. Robin Koch's fine start to the season continues with 90 minutes for Frankfurt in their 2-0 win over Heidenheim. Diego Llorente missed out on game time this week with AS Roma. He is still out with an injury. Mark Rocket played 76 minutes for Real Betis in a 1-1 draw with Alaves, and Rasmus Christian came on in the 69th minute for Roma in their 4-1 win over Cagliari in Italy last weekend. Some good performances there. We've talked about Sam Greenwood being called in for some praise this week on the back of his goal, and the fact that there's a £1.5 million buyout clause in that deal. A couple people questioned it yesterday. I said that Leeds don't have to follow through with that. I don't know the details, and a couple people saying that the option will be between Middlesbrough and Sam Greenwood, or they want to do it and Leeds not so much, and that's fair. That's a fair call out. Don't know to break down the details. I'm not sure if Leeds can opt out of it, but I think all 3 sides have to agree for it to take effect, but I could be very wrong. I don't know the ins and outs of the exact clause in the contract. But yeah, Leeds paid $1.5 million for him. They could get $1.5 million back for him. Outside the fact that he just scored against Borough, I don't think anybody would have had an issue with that, but we'll have to wait and see. I like Sam. I really do like Sam. I'd love to see him come back to Leeds as a more confident player who's in his flow, playing in his natural position of number 10 as well. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. And that's going to be it for me today, folks. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow morning, hopefully for more Leeds news. If there's no news, I'll come up with something else, but there will be a video tomorrow. I'll see you then. Have a great day. Talk to you then. Bye.